That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
No tears, please. It's a waste of good suffering.
Fairly alarmed here.
Welcome to Masters of the Nerdiverse Reviews. This is also known as MOTN Reviews, where we look at some of the brightest films in the Nerdiverse and some that are not so brightly lit. I'm, of course, your host, Mike G, where you can always find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, SoundCloud, YouTube, and Alexa, and also the city of Atlantis, but you may need a boat to get there. I'm definitely excited for this second episode of this series, going over some films that you may have seen, some films you may have not seen, and some ones that may have just come out. It really just depends on the fancy of me and my guest. Speaking of guests, I would like to introduce this episode's guest, who is actually someone I know quite well. I would say someone I know quite extremely well. He's known as my father. He's also known as the Mike Prime, as it were. So if I have any other primes, they'll be descendants of his prime, Mike. Mike G. Sr. How's it going?
Hey, how's things going? I'm so happy to be a part of this Nerdverse podcast.
Absolutely. Glad to have you on,
Thank you.
As part of the founders of the universe. Like, if there was the source wall, like in the New Genesis, you would be part of the source wall. Keeping the Nerdiverse together.
Okay.
Yeah, man. Like when Darkseid and Orion are battling the cosmos, they slam against you. You push them away. They're not ready for that level of enlightenment. Anyway. Oh, geez. So definitely want to talk about the movie we're going to be reviewing today, which is 1987's film directed by Paul Verhoeven, RoboCop.
Yes.
Man, RoboCop indeed. Oh, this movie has such a formative spot in my upbringing. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I wouldn't be the man I am today without it. Mike, what is your I would say experience with this film? How did you first hear about it?
Well, they had, back in 1987, you were just a little fella, and they had tons of trailers for this movie. I mean, it was really, really hyped. So me and my brother Greggy, we went the first day to see it with a big audience. I'm not sure where we saw that, but it was a big theater, and it was one of those kind of movies where everybody went ooh and ah, and the violence was over the top. And I walked out of there and was like, wow, this is a very violent movie, but it was very, very good. But I still really, really got to love it, not from my movie experience, but just watching it over the years. And the more you watch it, the more you see of it. And actually, the funnier the movie gets. We're going to get into the comedy aspects of it during this podcast, but the movie is hilarious.
Absolutely. This movie is kind of like a fine wine, isn't it? It's like the more the years pass, the more it becomes relevant. And also, as it is not intended to be a comedy, the funnier the scenes get, the impact of the scenes get just so much funnier. And it's one of those things where I'm hanging out with friends and we're watching something like Hellraiser, and I'm cracking up through the whole movie, and they can't understand why, because this is how we react to horror in the Mike G family. It's just some of them are just so silly that it's just hilarious. Oh man, definitely. Well, I can talk about my experience with this movie. I was raised on RoboCop. It's one of those things that were just on in the house back when there were VHS tapes. Yes, we are a dinosaur, but that's okay. Back in the day, it never really came on TV. I don't remember it ever being like on Cinemax or Showtime. We had to buy the movie, but then again, we had a tape of it taped. So I guess at some point it was on one of the cable channels back then. But I just always remember watching it on VHS tape with two other films that were actually woven into the tapestry that is Mike G. Jr. And this movie has always been that one cornerstone that if I'm feeling bad or if I'm feeling sick or I just need a good laugh or I just need to be inspired, RoboCop has always been there to bail me out, as it were, and to actually help me focus and and laugh at life, because it's just one of my favorite movies of all time. Yeah, so I definitely wanted to kind of just start rolling into this film, and Mike, definitely feel free to chime in, because I know I can just keep talking forever. You know?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Definitely. So let's get to the meat and potatoes of this movie. It opens up, and that theme song, man, just slaps you right in the face. You know, it's just such a good theme song. It's actually one of my top 5 orchestral scores based to film. Up
Now,
there.
do you know who did the score for this movie?
Was it Goldsmith? Was it? I think
I really don't.
Hmm?
I really don't know. I was hoping you knew that.
I
but
want to say.
Know.
I don't know. I think it was either Jerry Goldsmith or Alvin Silvestri, the guy who did the Predator theme.
Right.
You know, what I mean?
Sounds like it could be one of those two guys. You have to look it up the next time we watch the movie. But like you said, the score really makes the movie. And I'm glad. You know, we talked about this before, but I'm glad that they put that music in the newer version of the movie too.
Yeah, in the remake. I mean, how do you not include this a score of this magnitude in anything going forward? It's like taking out the score to Back to the Future, or taking out the score to Jurassic Park, right? It's just like the most epic thing in the world. You don't dump that. You improve upon it. You edit it. You remix it, as it were. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's one of the cooler things about this movie, is that this score. And the cool thing is that throughout the movie, I just noticed this after rewatching it, is that they do different versions of the score. You know, throughout the entire movie. Sometimes it's a bit hard hitting. For the somber moments, it's very subdued, and like the lighter notes come in. And during the triumphant moments, it goes right back to the original score, which I always love that when movies do that, when it's kind of like the music is a character all in its own.
That's right. I mean?
It's really cool. So, of course, during the rolling shot of Detroit, you get slapped with that RoboCop. Like, there's no illusions to what kind of movie this is going to be. It just slaps you with that logo right there in your face. And it's actually super epic, and I love it. I love that.
The movie just comes on. No credits. You don't know who did it yet. It just comes on.
Right. There's no directed by or none of that. It's just, this is it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just slaps you right in the face. This is welcome to RoboCop. RoboCop. And it establishes its world right off the bat with these strange news videos, this news break. You give us 3 minutes, we give you the world, right? And, you know, it goes into like war, and then it has this weird change to commercialism where it's showing you like new products and the 2000 SUX, the super coolest car. Yeah, it's like if I can own that in real life, it would super go down. Sell everything for that. It's 2000 SUX, which is funny, is that was an inside joke about, I think, the IROC or something like that the director put in because he hated the way that new 80s cars were looking. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty much the 2000s suck. It's pretty much what it's supposed to be.
Right.
It's so cool. It's like this little Easter egg that Paul Verhoeven just was like, I hate everything about this world. So all my movies are going to circle around how bad it is. And like, it's not post-apocalyptic, but it's like that one step before.
Right before.
You know what I mean?
Right
like
before.
The world is just about to end on all peripheries of this movie. Famine, privatized police, I would say kind of like how things are now, but I digress. So the movie rolls in with these crazy commercials, which are very similar to nowadays, and kind of like how things balance out now. And then we go into how Detroit is just the worst. Like, I don't understand why the city of Detroit is so bad. Like, it's funny because when I was a kid, I wanted to go to Michigan University. Really, really bad. I wanted to go really bad. And I actually had a buddy who went out there before me. He was a senior. I was like a sophomore or something. And he told me, like, Mike, don't do it. It's like there's nothing in Michigan for you, man, as a Californian. Nothing against Michigan, you know. Ann Arbor's beautiful. The Lake Michigan is awesome. It's such a stark contrast, and you know all that's going on with Flint, and that's kind of tied into Michigan, into Detroit. Yeah. So even back then, they painted Detroit as this kind of dystopian suburban setting, and it just sets a whole mood to the movie. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. So we roll on to actually get introduced into Alex Murphy is actually our hero of the film. And my first question to you, Mike, is why did he transfer? Like,
they never say. I think because of all the killings that was going on with police officers, and OCP was doing. They even say in the movie that OCP was doing a lot of shuffling around, taking people here and there. So I guess that precinct was hurting for personnel. So they sent Alex Murphy there.
Yeah, he you know, everybody was super hyped for him to be there. Just like, welcome to hell. You know,
right?
He's like, where are you from? He's like, oh, the North Side. He's like, yeah, welcome to hell. You know, and of course it opens with just the setting of the police station, which is, I don't know why in movies police stations are always like a source of havoc. All types of stuff is going on. You know what I mean? People are getting busted. There's a fight breaking out in the corner. There's like
it happens in this movie.
It happens directly in this movie. Every time you see the police precinct, someone's getting cussed out, or someone's drunk and belligerent, or like, and then you know, one of my favorite parts is where the police captain just hems this guy up. He's like, "You're a scumbag. Your client's a scumbag. The scumbags have to wait till tomorrow morning." And he just throws him out. I don't even know. That could have been like his a public defender or something like that. So nuts. And you know, we go into the movie, and it gives you, it's almost like a tracking shot. It's like one shot from the opening of the from the opening of the shot to all the way to the locker room.
Right.
You know what I mean? And how do what do you think about the actual opening of this movie? You think that it was a good tone setter, or do you think it could have been better?
No, I think it was perfect, because right there from the beginning, you already know what kind of world our hero is going to get into. You already see that the city had problems. You already see just from the beginning that the cops and the people that they protect, they just go all in at the beginning. And then he meets his partner. She walks in there, and the first thing that happens is you already laughing, but she already is fucking up fucking up her suspect. Excuse my language. Is messing up her suspect, and the sergeant says, "Lewis, after you finish fucking up your suspect, this is your partner."
Actually, Mike, don't worry about cussing, because this movie you kind of have to cuss. So this is going to be explicit no matter what.
Right? You got it.
So first of all, like in the middle of a police station, a suspect gets loose and just starts fighting people, right? Which is nuts by itself. And then secondly, you get introduced by Lewis by doing like a spinning bird kick on this dude and just beating the shit out of him. And the captain's like, "Hey Lewis, come meet your new partner after you're done fucking around with your suspect." It's just so casual. It's like this happens every day.
Every day.
So, you know, he goes, and another cool part is he goes to the back where it's just random nudity, just men and women getting dressed in the same locker room. Seems to be a Paul Verhoeven thing, which is this unisex universe we live in now. And the cops seem so salty about being cops in Detroit. They're just like, this one guy just got killed. You know, one of the guys is like, "We should just strike. Fuck them."
Right. They were talking about the strike, and he just went all in about it. And what did the sergeant say when he walked in there?
He said, "We are police officers. We do not go on strike. Please donate to Officer so and so's, family fund."
It was Officer Fredrickson.
Officer Fredrickson, exactly.
Right.
And,
They was taking his name tag off the locker.
yeah, I
Oh,
noticed
man.
that part because it was a close shot of Officer
Right.
Fredrickson's name and it's just chick 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 chick. Like, it's so cold. Like, they wanted you to know this guy died.
Yes, he died. Oh, that was horrible.
Man, so and it's cool because I like that Lewis, his partner, is not a damsel in distress. You know what I mean? She's not a heroine. She's an equal to him, at least before he becomes RoboCop, and she's not like, oh, she needs to be saved. You know what I mean? Even in the shots where she's in peril, she, it's because she messed up. It's not because she's a girl or something.
And that's a theme in Paul Verhoeven's movies, because it was the same thing in Starship Troopers, where the cadets were even. I mean, if in that movie, the sergeant broke off the female cadet. Remember that?
Yeah, he like busted her nose or something.
Yeah, he choked her out. Actually, he choked her out. And they was in the same type of thing. They was in the locker room, in the showering together as equals. They didn't have no problems with female and male separateness like we have today.
Yeah, it went kind of too far because she was about to die, but it was like a training simulation.
Yes, that's right. But she challenged him.
Yeah,
and he went all in on her.
Yeah, she should have challenged the sensei, man. You never do that.
Right, and the same thing about Lewis. She didn't challenge anybody, but her sense of duty, her sense of equalness is she's just like one of the boys.
Yeah, she was just one of the boys, man. She was kicking ass and taking names. And Paul Verhoeven has always has strong female characters in his films, which you can definitely appreciate. So we finally get introduced to OmniCorp. What is it? OmniCorp.
OCP.
OCP. I forget the P in OCP. It was OmniCorp something. Protocols or something like that. Which is top 5 worst movie companies of all time. You know what I mean?
It's gotta be top 2. Umbrella and then OCP.
OCP is pretty rough, man. It's like, oh man, it's like, don't be a board member or anything within OCP. They'll screw you over. And it's like it's a constant theme, and even all the future RoboCops, they never stop being dirtbags.
Yeah,
you know what I
they
mean? It's kind of the worst. And then after we get introduced to OCP, we get one of the best introductions in film history. Welcome the Ed 209. Yeah.
Okay, wait. You're skipping a part now.
Yes.
You're skipping where Lewis and Murphy's first day out. That happens before the boardroom.
He gets shot up before the boardroom scene?
Yes, he does.
Oh, okay. Why did I have that after then?
Yeah. No, yeah, you shot before.
I thought that was after the introduction of Clarence Boddicker.
No, yeah. Well, yeah, Clarence Boddicker, yeah. No, Clarence Boddicker happens first. That happens first. He gets shot up and dead. Yeah.
Okay, because I had it the other way. I had and because I was watching this scene for scene as I was making my notes. That's weird. I must have got that mixed up. But so there was the introduction to the OCP, and then you're saying that after they introduced OCP, then it went back to Murphy and Lewis on their first day out to hunt down Clarence Boddicker.
Yeah. Well, they didn't know who they was hunting down. They went out and they had a call at that same factory. They had got a call, and then they was chasing them in the van and tell them what happens in the van.
Oh yeah, right. Because they were sitting out shooting the breeze, and Lewis was doing his TJ laser spinning, and Lewis was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, my kid loves his cop show, so to impress him, I learned how to do this trick." And then they got the call for the I think, what was that? Was it a bank heist? Do they ever say?
No, they just got a call that was something was going on, and they had to roll on it. And that's when I think she drove.
Yeah, she drove.
She drove, and then they saw the van. And they got behind it, and then you can take it from there. What happens next?
I'm sorry, I have to take a second. Why would they have him go after armed vigilantes on his first day out?
Okay, I don't think that they didn't know what kind of car they was going on. They saw this van and then they start chasing it.
I mean, but
They
police have like call. I mean, there's 187s.
right.
There's you know, like
They just got a yeah. They didn't even get that. They got a call. And remember, I'm going skipping just a little bit. When the van stopped at that place, they wanted backup, but they was with the other police were too busy, and he throws the mic on the dash. Oh damn!
You're right.
But before that, they chasing the van, and
Right.
what happens?
Yeah, they're definitely chasing the van, and you know, we get the first introduction to Clarence Boddicker and he might as well be a pirate. You know, this guy. Clarence Boddicker is one of my favorite movie villains of all time, just because he's so irredeemable. So I guess they must have robbed a bank or a trust or something like that.
Right.
And somehow in the Donnybrook, one of his goons burns all the money they they stole. And Clarence Boddicker's having a full freak out. He's like, you burned the fucking money. He's like, what do you want me to do? So, and they look out their view mirror, and you see Murphy and Lewis in tow chasing the car. And so they're trying to figure out a diversion to stop the car, to stop the police car. So they kick open the back door of the van and just start shooting at him. And so they're doing evasive maneuvers, getting around the van, and they run out of bullets, I guess, or something like that. So Clarence Boddicker walks up to the goon who made the mistake and just whispers in his ear, "Can you fly, Bobby?"
Bobby got shot. Bobby got shot by
he got shot in the leg, right?
He got shot. Right? So he was no good. He was no good to Clarence Boddicker, and he looked at him and pick him up.
Pick him up. Yeah, pick him up.
Pick him up.
Pick him up.
And you fly, Bobby. And he throws him out of the van onto the police car, and they're swerving. They show no mercy. They kicked the dude off and kept chasing the van.
They didn't even call it in. They just kept pushing. So that dude is off in the corner somewhere, probably dying.
All day. Probably died.
Yeah, man. So that's like one of the best parts of the movie. This movie has so many good parts, so they follow them to the oil refinery where you jumped in and they were like, yeah, man, they tried to call for backup because this is above their head, but backup wasn't coming. So Murphy just threw his earpiece on the dash and was like, let's do it, whatever.
Right.
And and honestly, Lewis should have stopped him. Lewis should have been like, there's no way we're going in there. She was she was the outranking officer. There's no reason why they should have entered that building, but they did. So it slows the movie down a bit, and they go looking for the perpetrators. And Lewis comes across Huey, which is the African American guy with the super high pitched Joker voice, and he's like just taking a piss off like the side of a drop.
Just pissing off the side.
Yeah, he's just whistling, pissing off the side, and he's alerted by the pop of her bubble gum. And he turns around, he just has like his stuff hanging out. He's like, "Would you mind zipping this up?" The second she looks down, he gets the drop on her, and she seems to fall to her death. You know, she just falls like into nothing, and he just goes, "Ha ha ha!"
Yeah,
you know, and she's out of effect, so she's out of the equation for now. And somehow Clarence Boddicker gets the drop on Murphy. And begins
not him. He goes in there, and the little guy gets the drop on them first. Him and the guy, his name is Nash. That's his name.
Right? Yeah.
And Murphy shoots. No, not Nash. He shoots one of the guys, and the other one just gives up because Murphy says, "Dead or alive, you're coming with me."
Right. And
then that's when they come, and he says, "Not now, amigo," or something like that. And then the little guy says, "You're a mine." And Clarence Boddicker says,
Not yet, he ain't.
Yeah.
Not yet, he ain't.
Not yet, he ain't. Are you a good cop? Hot shot. You must be a great cop.
Coming in all by yourself. You must be some kind of great cop.
Where's your partner?
Where's your partner?
And then when the African American says, "I took her out."
Yeah, he was like, somebody's downstairs. She was sweet.
I took her out. Because said, that must piss you off.
That must really
Guess
piss
what?
you off, right?
Cops don't like me,
And
and
I
I don't
cops.
like cops.
He was like, "What do you think?" He was like, "Buddy, I think you're slime." Oh shit, man! The writing in this movie is, I don't know if it's ad-libbed. It's just so perfect. I can't with this movie, man. It's just too good.
Because Murphy came right up. I think you're slime.
Buddy, I think you're slime. And
And
then
they
just starts cracking up.
They start laughing.
Oh, geez. So they put Murphy on his knees, right? And we get I don't want to call it iconic because it's so crazy and violent. You get the decimation of Alex Murphy, where these dudes, but first, they put his hand on the ground, and one of the guys has, like, what is it, a double-barrel shotgun?
Yeah, Clarence Boddicker did that.
Yeah, he has a double-barrel shotgun, close range on a human hand, and when he shoots it, it's the most graphic explosion of a human hand I've ever seen on film. Like, to this day, it's just stuck. Even now, I'm, like, imagining it. And it's like, that would pretty much really happen if you just put like a double-barrel shotgun.
You put a gun, right. Yeah, they exploded. And what did Clarence Boddicker say?
Yeah, just give the man a hand. and what's crazy is that Murphy didn't even scream. He was just so much shock. Yeah. He was just staring at his stub. And then he goes, he's all yours. Right?
They just start unloading.
With everything, with pistols, with rifles, with shotguns.
Even one of them even said, I'm out of ammo.
They're blowing through his armor. And, of course, Clarence Boddicker gives him the kiss of death. The shot straight to the dome. And they're just done.
And you can see the bullet just pierce his head. And just half his head came off.
It's nuts, man. It's like, could they film that like that nowadays? I mean, man, like, what they would do, none of it would be practical. It will all be digital effects, and it would be garbage. You know what I mean? You got to respect back then. That was all done in practical effects. You know what I mean? With squibs and like body cast. It's just, the movie is so well done. I don't even know who the effects team on that movie was, but
I don't know. It was excellent, because it still stands up today. When you see that, you go, oh man, they broke him off. They really broke him off. I told you at the beginning, you were saying, that movie was really, really violent back then. And I wouldn't even have took you to see that, because you was a little kid. I would have said no, because that's how violent it was. Because they really did Murphy. Ooh, they did him bad. He had a bad first day.
Yeah, he had a rough first. I remember one of the funniest things you ever told me in my life was, if Batman was real, he would get killed his first night out. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way Batman would make it. And that's how I kind of imagine, Alex Murphy. It's like, what was his plan? He was going to just his first day, he's going to single-handedly take out a group of organized thieves by himself with Lewis, and they were just going to make the papers. Like,
I don't know. I don't even know why they even split up. They should have just stayed together. I guess it would have been no movie if they'd have done that. Right. But yeah, they split up, and he had a bad day.
Man, so Lewis discovers Murphy, and we get to that crazy POV shot of him kind of dying. The emergency room working on him. And I said before, but I'm gonna say it again. Like, as an adult, that scene just brings out the anxiety in me, man. It's a pretty nutty scene, because from there on out, everything's done in POV.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. You can see from, if you're laying on a table, how it would look, and it reminds me of like when you ever go to the dentist or something like that, and all you see is your shoulders and heads, like hanging over you as like
that bright light,
you know what I mean, and like just it's such an ugly feeling. So that POV shot of him being worked on and him kind of flashbacking to moments in his life, the good parts, and then his eventual end death. It's kind of like him going down the light at the end of the tunnel. You know what I mean? So it's just a very jarring and very cool, well shot scene, because it does what it wants. It does what it wants to do in that sense of, it just makes you feel like, man, Murphy got it rough.
He had it rough, yes. And do you think, when you watch this movie, do you think the doctors that was on the emergency room team did all they could?
No, I noticed that. Right. They were very lax. They were just like, okay, we're going to O2 shock him. Okay. Okay, all right, clear. All right, so that's all we can do. Call it.
They call
What's
it.
the time?
That's it.
What's the time? It's another dead cop, right?
That's
But
it.
I noticed that there was no urgency in anything
No.
they were doing.
They knew he was done.
Yeah, I mean, what do? Do you want? I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, do you want to survive that? You want to live the rest of your life that broke off?
Oh, I
You know
don't
what I
know.
mean? Like, what? Yeah. It's time to go, man. So, okay. What I have after the POV death scene is immediately after that, the POV rebirth of him in the process becoming RoboCop.
Yes.
And you see that, like, almost grainy television screen pop up. And you see his point of view also. Once again, you see his point of view with protocols and boot up and boot up root systems popping up, and you see them kind of talking about, you know, getting him up and running. And I thought, like, okay, how long is this POV going to run? Because it's actually, I never noticed like a POV scene or sequence go this long, but I guess you can count it as 2 POV scenes. You know what I mean? Man.
Now you was right. Now, right before all this happened, that's when they was in the boardroom.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, I know
Yeah,
I didn't
so
mix that up.
You can go into that because that's right before that.
Okay, cool. So let's do the boardroom scene real quick, and then I'll go to part 2 of the POV scene. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So pretty much, there's the boardroom scene where we get the introduction to OCP and pretty much their new military application, which will be the ED 209. And I wish I knew the acronym, the ED 209.
ED 209 Enforcement Droid 209 series.
Thank you, Enforcement Droid 209, where they were also introduced to like one of the directors of OCP, Dick Jones, which is another great villain of this movie, where he's going into the different applications that OCP does, like space exploration, hospitals, schools,
the police department, things that he even said, things that traditionally don't make money, but OCP has invested in these programs, and I guess they have made them profitable. So
right
now they got into a thing they've gotten into a contract with the police department, and ED 209 was supposed to be their like RoboCop. That's what they wanted to use it for first.
Urban pacification, you know what I mean? So it's almost like OCP's plan was to own the city. You know what I mean? Like all functions that make a city work. You know, hospitals, schools,
and plus, they wanted to clean up Detroit, because remember, Detroit was going to be destroyed, and they had greenlit Delta City. Delta City was going to take Detroit's place.
Right, and that was going to be kind of them, the gentrification of Detroit. You know, right? So, and their plan was this was going to be a part of that process. Was to use the ED 209s, right, to clear out all the riffraff.
That's right.
Perfect. So they got the bright idea to bring an ED 209 into the boardroom, right? And this thing, how would you describe ED 209?
Well, it's got a big bubble type head, and it had Gatling guns for arms, and it had two legs that went out with the feet extended. So it was balanced, and the Gatling gun for arms. Oh my goodness! So that's basically what it looked like.
It looked like a robotic T-Rex shark. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. It's almost like, remember Robotech? It looked like one of those type things.
Yeah, like it looked like a Macross Robotech, like in leg form. You know what I mean?
And the Gatling gun arm.
But the Gatling gun arms that if I saw that in real life, I would not think it's trying to help me. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing.
That's right.
There's nothing protect and serve about an ED 209. That's pretty much like it's time to rock. It didn't even look like it had non-lethal options.
Nothing.
It's just a head, legs, and guns.
Yeah, that's what it was.
If those are just patrolling the streets, of course you're not going to have any violence. Everybody's scared to death. You become a police state. But nevertheless, they wanted to do a demonstration of the ED 209's superior technology. So, you know the name of the actual poor schmuck they got to do the demonstration. McCready, right?
Mr. Kinney. His name is Kinney.
Mr. Kenny, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
So they unravel the Ed 209 and say, and they volunteer Mr. Kenny, and he grabs his. It was almost like a platinum Desert Eagle. It's this huge gun that they gave this guy.
Yeah.
It was like a Magnum or something. He points it at the Ed 209, and the thing wakes up, and it sounds like a damn lion. It just literally roars at him. You know, it arms itself immediately, and it just arms itself. And Mr. Kenny's scared out of his mind, and it says, I want to do the exact quote. He says, "So it's like something on property. You have 20 seconds to comply." In his crazy, super deep voice, and Dick Jones is like,
"You better comply. You better do like he says, Mr. Kenny."
He's like, "I think you better do as he says, Mr. Kenny." And so Mr. Kenny throws the gun away, and he's standing there by himself. And El 209 roars again and says, "You have 10 seconds to comply." And it starts counting down 9. He starts freaking out. And the whole boardroom is going nuts.
The handlers are trying to pull the plug. They try to, and they doing everything they can to get this thing to stop it. Because I guess they knew what was going to happen.
Yeah, right. So, like you said, in the background, in the periphery of the shot, you see just a bunch of technicians and scientists like pulling, because they had like a whole like a control console. So they're flipping up the top and trying to tear off wires. Nah, it's not happening. Air 209 is in full effect. And so it gets down to, and you know, poor Mr. Kenny is like just bouncing off of the poor direction. They're pushing him away, you know, get away from me, man, you know. So, and they push him right in front of a window, and Ed 209 gets to 0, and he says, "I am now able to use physical force." It just blows him away with live rounds. And there's this cool shot of Mr. Kenny's like from his collarbone to like his nose. All the skin just peels off of his face as he's being blown away, and for like a full 5-second count of nonstop Gatling gun artillery. And people are screaming in the background. Ed 209 is just smoking from his guns. You hear someone in the background scream, "Don't touch him! Get it clear!" Everyone's freaking out. "Don't touch him!" Everyone's just freaking out. And, you know, the boardroom kind of clears out, and Dick Jones is talking to his boss, and he's like, "Oh, this is just a glitch. A temporary setback." And I'll let you do the other part. What the whole boy saying?
The boss says, "You call this a glitch?
You call this a glitch?
This setback is going to cost us something that overruns, and Delta City won't get greenlit for 6 months." And that's when Bob Morton comes in.
Bob Morton, the introduction of Bob Morton.
Right, you know, that's when he comes in and he pitches the RoboCop program for a contingency for this type of thing.
Yeah, as he looked at Dick Jones, and Dick Jones gave him the stare of death. Like, man, you're such a worm, you know. But it got RoboCop lit, and that's what led to, and that's what kind of dovetailed into Murphy's first day out and his death, his apparent death at the hands of Clarence Boddicker and his rogues gallery, as it were, because they might as well be Flash villains at this point.
Right.
So we go into the rebirth of RoboCop, where we keep seeing screens pop up in different stages of his creation. And one of my favorite scenes is the lose the arm scene, where it's a bit in the future, and you see the RoboCop arm, and it's cool. I wish I had this. I want to know who owns it, because it's a working prop, right? And it's just RoboCop's hand, and it does this weird flick of the wrist where it's like reaching out to shake your hand.
Right. It looked like the Terminator arm.
Yeah, it looked like a Terminator arm, because it wasn't his completed arm, which is the cool thing. It was like a prototype arm.
It was like from the shoulder on down.
Yeah, it was like a full shoulder fake arm, right? It was like a robotic arm.
Yeah.
And so I always remember I forget his name. The guy who created RoboCop, what's his name again?
Bob Morton.
Bob Morton tries to shake his hand, and it's just crushing his hand. And he's like, damn, it's got a firm grip. He's like, and the lady was like, "It's 400 foot-pounds. It can crush every bone in your hand."
Bone in your hand, yes.
And then he goes into, I thought we said full body prognosis. Why are we going to save the arm? He's like, oh yeah, his arm is just fine. And he was like, man, I told you to cut everything off. And then it went to he asked the lawyer guy, which is it's like he's like in every movie now that I think about it. That black lawyer.
Yeah, he's in every movie.
He's like in every movie. And he never gets in trouble. He never gets injured or nothing. And he was like, so what can we do? He's like, well, he signed himself over to OCP. He's technically dead. We can do whatever we want to him. Right? So cold.
No compassion, no nothing.
No compassion.
Lose the arm.
Lose the arm.
Lose the arm.
And then I think that's just, and then RoboCop is like, it's like Christmas at this point. And everybody's celebrating, and she's like, oh, it's staring at us. Which is so weird how do you think about it, like, because from their point of view, you just see like this RoboCop probably with no arms or legs left, just just staring off into this group of partiers. One of the girl kisses him on his visor, and it smears his view. Bob Morton looks him in the eyes and says, you're going to be a bad motherfucker. It's so cool. I love that part.
That's one of my favorite parts too.
And then we finally get to the music starts welling up, which I love how the use of music in this movie. And he says he's going to be the state of the art RoboCop, and RoboCop stands up in the camera stands up with him. You kind of see him starts walking down. Everybody's clapping, and we finally get a slow burn to see RoboCop, which I think is so cool. In any kind of superhero movie, if it's the first time you're seeing that character, you need a slow burn. You need a build up. You know what I mean? Like you need that anticipation. And you see, and they're taking RoboCop to the precinct to let him get loose and let him get acclimated, because technically he's still a cop. He's on the payroll. Right? Yes. I don't know if RoboCop has like a 401k because they own him, but
he's product.
He's a product. You're a product, right? I love that part. So OCP rolls through, right, with like 6 or 7 vans, and they're just like put him in through the back way, and everybody's like, "What is going?" And that's another scene where you go into the actual police station, and someone's being rowdy. All types of crazy stuff's happened. And the moment you hear RoboCop walking, everyone just kind of quiets down, and you hear that iconic RoboCop walk sound. That doof, doof,
yeah.
Doof. And everything about this character is iconic. Like they took it. I love the attention to detail that's in RoboCop. So he's walking through. You kind of see him in shadow. You see him behind like gilded glass. You don't really see him really clear. And he finally goes to the gun range where everyone's just kind of like doing their thing, and you get the point.
Before that, he's walking through the back of the police precinct, and one of the suspects is in there and says, "What is this shit? what is this shit?"
I remember that part. He's like, "What is this shit?" Everybody's freaking out.
Yeah, what are they gonna do with it? What is this?
What is this? Oh, that's a good part. You got me with that one. That's a good part because it's not like they gave him a heads up. You know what I mean? It's
right.
Like prepare for RoboCop. This dude just came through one day, and it was the fat drunk guy at the table.
Yeah.
He was like, "What is this shit?" And the cop's like, "Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We'll figure it out." And you get the point of view from one of like the cops going into the gun range. And are you here? Once again, audio iconography. You hear the sound of that damn gun that just drilling into that shooting dummy. That I've never heard anything like it other than in this movie. And it's just like, and people are freaking out because it just it's so loud. And one guy is just like, "That fucking gun, dude! It's the coolest thing ever." And all you see is RoboCop's hand at this point, and it's a full foot above everybody else's hand, so it kind of gives you some kind of scale on how big RoboCop is.
Right.
And man, and it's funny because in video games they often ape this gun, like in Far Cry, Blood Dragon. It's called the gun is in the game. You can pick it, and the gun is called the Alex Murphy.
Oh, okay, great.
It's super cool, and like other games pay homage to that gun because it's I can't think outside of like the gun from The Fifth Element, you know what I mean, with John Bautista, Emmanuel Zorg, I can only think of like so many iconic guns in movies that just really stand out. You know what I mean?
That one, like I said, that gun, it went from automatic to semi-automatic at will.
At will, because he didn't switch anything, right?
No.
It's almost like it was based on his trigger movement, because he was doing steady shots, right, of automatic, the drills, and it kept hitting the face of the dummy in the exact same spot, and then at the end to finish it, it went to semi-automatic. It was like do do do, and it just took it down. And everybody's like, what is this? And RoboCop, and he does the swirl. And also another iconic thing is that hip, that his gun holder was built into his leg. Like, I've never seen anything like that before.
Yeah, it opens up. He puts his gun away, and it closes back.
It closes back. It's like, it's so cool. Like, I just want to be on a fly on the wall for when these guys were sitting around designing RoboCop back in the 80s.
It was awesome. I compared that RoboCop with their newer movie, and I don't know. I just like the way they did him. The newer one, he was cool too, but that RoboCop, they just really put him together. I mean, it was a fun version of him.
In the remake.
In the older one.
Yeah, in the older one, you've never seen anything like it. You know,
right.
It was not in comics, not in other film. The visor, it was 80s perfection, right?
Yeah.
And you mentioned the new one where he had two different color variations, which is weird. He had the stealth all black one, but I tend to like it better when they actually revert it back to the silver on black, because it's more iconic that way. He has a color scheme. If you think about it, all great heroes and villains are either two-toned or three-toned. Look at Spider-Man. He's a two-tone.
Right.
Batman could be considered two-tone if you want to go the blue and gray or the black and yellow. Iron Man, red and yellow. So that platinum chrome on that black, it's just the most iconic thing in the world. I can't think of any other hero that pulls that off outside of like the Silver Surfer, right? But I think that's where the remake kind of messed up, is that I know it wanted to do its own thing, but with an existing property, you need to really lean into why people love it. You know what I mean?
Right. And that's one reason why you love it, because he was just cold. I mean, he was just cold.
Just too cold, man. It's just too legit. So, you know what I mean? Then we get to a part where it's RoboCop's first night out. You know what I mean? And it's really a contrast to Murphy's first day out. You know what I mean? If you think about it, it contrasts in every single way, down to the time of day it is. And I just remembered it right now. RoboCop gets in a standard car, and as he hits there's like a ramp that goes out, and he hits the ramp so hard, you see it spike because he's so heavy.
Yeah, and sparks come from underneath the car.
It's so cool. So he bones out. This dude smashes out like at 80 miles per hour in the parking lot. He's ready to get to it. You see his visor, and he's picking up like different kind of like radio chatter and stuff like that. And the first place he goes is to the liquor store, where it's the "I buy that for $1" scene. I'll let you, because you remember this part better than I do. So I'm gonna let you take this one. How does this go?
He goes to the liquor store, and this guy is robbing these people, and he's got one of those heavy rifle.
Right.
And he's got it trained on the guy, and he says, "I want the money." And he says, "Open the safe." He says, the guy, old man says, "Oh, we don't have a safe." "God damn it, we don't have a safe." He starts thinking, I'll shoot her. And you got, I'll count to 10. And he started to count down, and that's when RoboCop walks in there.
Yeah.
And he bends the barrel of the gun.
Right.
And then he turns that sick turn he does, that lariat turn, boom, and knocks the dude into the glass casing.
Yeah, because he starts shooting RoboCop with the rifle, just spraying him, and it's bouncing off food, it's bouncing off like popcorn, and on RoboCop it's just bouncing off his chest like Superman. You know what I mean? And he walks right up to the guy, and he does that classic superhero move. He takes the barrel of the gun and no problem at all, just bends it at his will. The guy tries to escape, and like you said, he does that crazy lariat, and it just clotheslines the guy right into
Yeah,
the.
he does like a 180 turn.
And it's like RoboCop's so slow, but then when he needs to be, he's so fast.
Yeah.
So it's very jarring how that character moves. You know what I mean? So he saves the day. He's doing like what I call he's doing his Spider-Man run. He's going small and he's establishing himself. You know what I mean? He's doing small robberies, thefts, petty larceny. You know what I mean? He's going around the town cleaning. He just automatically starts cleaning up Detroit. No problem, right? By himself. You know what I mean? So the next scene, which I think is one of the cooler scenes, is the scene where the two guys are chasing the girl in the darkness, and they're going to do things to her. And RoboCop shows up, and all you see is the light from RoboCop's car hit them. And then another, iconic moment is you see the shadow of RoboCop looming over these two guys and their victim. Poster shot, right?
You want to that great poster shot. That's exactly what it is. I wish I could find that just to put it as my screensaver. That's how cool that shot is.
It's just the attention to detail in this movie is something that's super underrated. You know what I mean? Like that alone is just it just says so much. RoboCop's here, right? Like everything is going to be fine. So
yeah, looming over the bad guy,
looming over the scum of the city, right?
Yeah.
So the guy automatically takes the girl hostage. He starts screaming, and RoboCop's vector starts finding an open spot to shoot, and it finds between the girl's legs. So RoboCop shoots the guy pretty much in his lower area, and the guy just starts screaming. He starts like squealing. His buddy just breaks out, and the guy is just pretty much done. He's like, "What do I do now?" And another telling moment in this movie is where the lady runs over the RoboCop and tries to hug him, and like just starts crying and freaking out, just thanking him. She says, "Oh, thank you." And RoboCop's just not moving. And then what does she say? What does he say? He says, "I think you need a rape crisis center."
I will notify a rape crisis center.
I will notify a rape crisis center. And she's just like, okay. And then it's like, and then it just goes to show like how much of Murphy is left in that thing at this point. It's just running its protocols, just doing what it's got to do. And then we get to the best part of the montage is the hostage situation at the mayor's office, where something didn't go right with this.
Right, that's right. You're right. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Go ahead. Yeah, at the mayor's office, right.
So one guy is already dead. There's a bunch of people on their knees with their hands behind their heads. The mayor's on a loudspeaker just talking all types of shit. He's just, "I want my old job back." He's like, "Man, we could work that out, dude." He's like, "I want a 2000 XUX." He was like, "Yeah." He has an automatic gun. RoboCop pulls up slowly to the scene, breaks the police tape, just walks up. No one knows who this is, mind you. No one knows what this is. He just walks up to the main guy, just keep him talking, and just keeps going. I think about that, like no one was prepped to be ready for RoboCop. He just shows up.
Right.
He's like, so he's like, "I want the new car with the really shitty gas mileage." Oh,
now I want to recount. Now I want to win.
I want to recount.
I want my old job back.
I want my old job back. So they fucked with me. Don't fuck with me. And so he's like going off, and one of the coolest parts of the movie is the guy's talking crap, and you see RoboCop vision, and you see he does heat vision like in the Predator. Yeah. You see all the bodies there. You see him with his gun. You see him like walking around pacing the office, and out of nowhere, RoboCop busts through the door like the Kool-Aid Man. He busts through a solid wall like the Kool-Aid Man, gets the drop on the mayor, and does a super punch and punches him out of a third-story building. It's so cool, man. It's just like, welcome to RoboCop.
Right, and the news crew is right there.
The news crew follows his body all the way down. And like as soon as he hits the ground, it reverses back, and it just shows that on the evening news. RoboCop. Who is he? Where does he come from? Right? And there's of course the scene where they're doing the montage of RoboCop around the city, and he gets to the classroom, And the, and the news reporter's like, RoboCop, Robo, if you had one thing to say to the youth of the city, what would you say? And RoboCop looks dead in the camera. It's just like, stay out of trouble. It's like the most hardcore thing ever.
Oh, it was funny.
Stay out of trouble. You know? And so, at that point, we get to the scene where the success of RoboCop has gotten back to his creator, and you know they're at OCP, and he's in. Is that the scene where he's in the elevator going to the bathroom?
Yeah,
where they're just talking about the RoboCop initiative and how it's being successful.
Yeah, he just got promoted too.
Yeah,
Bob Moore got promoted to right under Dick Jones. He was like right under Dick Jones. He's like vice president of security. Because remember, they work for Security Concepts, which is a subsidiary of OCP.
Right. And Bob Morton's walking to the bathroom. He's like, "Oh man, Dick Jones is a smokescreen. You ain't got to really worry about him." You know what I mean? And they're taking a piss in the bathroom, and Dick Jones walks into the bathroom on them as he's talking shit.
No, Dick Jones was in the stall.
Yeah, right. Dick Jones is already in there listening to the whole thing, right?
Right.
He was in one of the bathroom stalls. So he walks out. One of the dudes taking a piss sees Dick Jones and just bails so quick that he pisses himself, right? Because Dick Jones apparently gets people killed. You know? It's like he's that gully. So everybody clears out. Bob Morton's still tough enough to like just stand toe to toe with Dick Jones, and I'll let you kind of take what happens from that point.
Yeah, he says, you something with that bastard creation of yours. I had a contract with Ed told now. Who cares if it works or not? And then Bob Moore said the old man thought it was important. Well, he's a sweet old man. He's a sweet old man. But I'm number 2 around here. He's not gonna live forever. You just fucked with the wrong guy.
You out your fucking mind. Because he grabs him by his shirt and pulls him in. Such good. Oh my goodness, I love this movie. It's so good.
You got your fucking mind.
You got your fucking mind.
Pray that bastard creation doesn't screw up. Then he walks out. Just said to you like, man, there's so many layers to this movie. It's just like so much that's going on with it. And then we get to the scene where RoboCop starts to have these bad dreams. Yeah. Right? Where he's having flashbacks of his previous life, and he's starting to remember faces, and he sits in this cool RoboCop chair that I guess downloads and monitors all of his activity from each day, right? And then how does he get the hints to go after the first guy? I forget. Like, well, I don't. He sees Clarence Boniker's face in his dream, right. And I think he sees them in his dream. I think he sees all of them. He flashes with all of them in his dream, right? And that's why he goes to that guy.
He doesn't
go after him. He doesn't go after him. There's the incident at the gas station. That guy just happened to be there.
Right, he just happened to be there, right? Yep. And then he remembered his face.
That's right.
And that's what set him on the path.
And then that's right. But before that, he did have the dream. He saw Clarence Boniker, and he saw all the faces of all those dudes. So he was already pretty much on the path. He just had to put it all together. When he saw that dude at the gas station, that's what sent him off.
That was the eureka moment. And speaking of that gas,
who they were.
Right. And speaking of that gas station scene where he's trying to fill up his bike with gas, and he literally he rolls up with a gun in his hand. Wouldn't you just call the police immediately? Yeah,
the guy did. That's how RoboCop knew to go there. He hit the silent alarm.
Right. He was killing that alarm, right?
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, you a college boy or something?" The poor little guy behind the glass is like reading quantum physics or something crazy.
Yeah, he was a bookworm or something like that.
A little bookworm? So you pretty smart, huh? You outsmart a bullet? He just starts clicking the gun under the plastic protector. It's so dumb.
What do you say? What do you He starts banging on the glass with the gun.
Right. Like, what is going on?
Little dude
And,
is shaking his head. No. He was like, leave me alone. No. And then
Yes.
RoboCop, he drives up, and then the guy says, "I know you. We killed you.
Yeah, because what
We
happens
killed
is
you."
what
Because
triggers
RoboCop
that.
told him, he says, "You're dead or alive, coming with me." That's what he tells him.
Because he starts talking crap to RoboCop, and then RoboCop
Yeah.
says, "Dead or alive, you're coming with me," and then it triggers that we've killed you, and then the guy just tries to roll out on his motorcycle while the gas is still running, and he pretty much drives off and breaks the gas thing, and as RoboCop turns to shoot him, the entire gas station just explodes, and it creates this cool iconic scene of like the shadow once again, the shadow of RoboCop being kind of like in the light of the fire. And RoboCop shoots the guy's gun. If you shoot the guy's bike and the guy's bike, he wipes out, right?
Wipes out. You're right. He really wipes out. He falls hard. He should have been dead.
He should have been dead. And that poor gas station attendant, did he survive that? Because it kind of seemed like the whole thing exploded.
He knew what was going to happen because the dude that wipes out was smoking. So he threw his cigarette onto the ground,
Mm-hmm.
and then that dude hid away somewhere. So I think he survived.
Right, because he saw the cigarette hit the ground and the gas going towards it, and so the attendant bailed out. Right.
Yeah, he bailed out.
And that's the scene where RoboCop looks at him. He goes, "Who are you?" And the guy's like, he's super jacked up. And, "Who are you?" You know? And that's where RoboCop started going on. Like, he's like, "Nah, man." So RoboCop went back to the precinct and went to go see the servers, all the OCP police department servers, and he pulls out that sick hand spike. That I'm just like, one, why does it have to be this way? You know, why does it have to be a giant death and data spike?
Yeah,
you know what I mean, it could have just been a USB, but I guess we weren't.
It looked like a giant icicle.
Yeah, it looked like a Wolverine claw. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
This thing.
But it was longer and thicker.
Yeah, it was like a giant, like you said, like a giant icicle. You know what I mean? It's this huge spike, and apparently that works. So he goes into the database, and he gets all of the known associates of that guy, of the biker. And he starts seeing all those familiar faces pop up. Everybody in the gang, the Asian guy, the black guy, the "get away from me, man" guy.
Yeah,
and it goes to Clarence Boddicker, and he sees Clarence Boddicker's face, and then it goes known felonies, and it says murder, and then it shows Alex Murphy's face, and that's what really triggers the memory of Alex Murphy deep within RoboCop. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he even goes to his house after that and looks for his family, but his house was already sold, and he was really mad after that. Yeah,
because that's when he got ultra pissed and went after that guy in the club. Just to talk about that house scene really quick. The house scene was so jarring because it was almost like a dream. You know what I mean? It was it was from his point of view, it was very floaty. And as he's walking through, he's getting memories of his loving wife. And he just starts becoming...
and his child,
and his kids. "Can you do that, Dad?" You know, that weird repeat that kept happening. "Can you do that, Dad?" And he just keeps getting angrier and angrier. And it's so cool because you can see it in his walk. His walk is very normal and standard. And his face. His face crumples up a little bit. And he's just walking through like at super speed. And he's looking at the picture of the realtor, the digital realtor, and he just punches the screen like Pike in the Flash trailer. Like, you know.
Oh, you still remember that?
He does the Pike punch from the original like 90s Flash pilot.
Yeah,
if y'all don't know about that.
We used to rewind that just to see Pike go like this boots.
Pike was the best villain. Pike was the best TV villain ever, but that's for another podcast.
Right.
Maybe we'll review the old Flash episodes one day, but that's a reference for those who know about it.
Man, you used to love that.
Oh, it's the best. It's actually the best. Pike punches the shit out that TV. It makes this crazy break noise. So it flash cuts to the club where one of the group, because RoboCop's on the Vengeance Trail at this point. And it flash cuts to the club scene where one of the guys is partying, and RoboCop goes to the club and pretty much just apprehends him, which I don't get, because how did these guys get out after RoboCop caught them all? Because he caught like a couple of them, didn't he?
Big Jones, but you'll get to that later on.
Right. So he goes to the club. He sees Homeboy dancing, and the guy tries to pull a gun on RoboCop. RoboCop pretty much just breaks his hand, and kicks and hits him in the balls or something, and the guy falls to the ground. And everybody's getting super hyped because RoboCop's there, so no one stops. Like the club doesn't like stop or like relax or anything. People are getting more excited, and so RoboCop grabs the guy by the hair and just drags him out by his hair. The guy just starts screaming.
Yeah,
that funny
where's,
face he's making.
Where's Clarence Boddicker? Where's
Clarence Boddicker?
And you know what's funny about that? The dude gives him up. He tells him where he's at.
Yeah, the dude super gives him up. He don't want nothing to do with RoboCop, man. He was such a turncoat. I think he's my, but besides Huey, he's my favorite, he's my favorite henchman of Clarence Boddicker, man. He's too good. Yeah, he steals every scene he's in that they actually let him do something.
Yeah, he didn't do too much, but every scene he was in, because they don't actually show him, give him up, but you knew he had to because RoboCop knew exactly where to go find Clarence Boddicker.
Right, because if you're gonna lie, RoboCop's just gonna defeat you super hard and break bones and possibly might kill you. You know what I mean? So, RoboCop then, and then before that, there's the actual comeuppance of his name keeps escaping me, where Clarence Boddicker actually goes to visit Bob Morton. He goes to visit Bob Morton on the request of Dick Jones, and Bob Morton's having himself a pretty good time.
Yeah, he's living it up.
Yeah, he's doing coke off of like prostitutes in his house because he just got a promotion. You know, he's feeling ultra good. Yeah. You know, he's doing his thing. So Clarence Boddicker shows up as the assassin. I don't remember if he just busts down his door. He just
he knocked on the door. He knocked on the door.
Why is he so cordial? So he walks in. Everybody's on the floor sitting down, like doing blow. And Clarence Boddicker just says, "Bitches leave." So, first things he says, and the girls like scat. They run out. And so Bob Morton tries to talk to Clarence Boddicker. I don't even think he knows who he is at this point, right?
No, he doesn't know.
So he's like, "Hey man, what are you doing in my house?" And immediately, Clarence Boddicker uses like a silencer and just kneecaps him both knees, right? And then he puts the tape on, and for some reason, Bob Morton has like 75 screens on his wall, and just all of Dick Jones, you know, kind of breaking it down.
Breaking it down.
You know, like I wish I remembered that verbatim. It's such a good damn scene.
But he tells him, whatever he's paying you, I'll double it right now.
Yeah.
But Clarence Boddicker was not having it.
He wasn't even saying anything. He was just smiling. He was just like looking at him.
He pulls out the grenade and pulls the pin out with his mouth.
With his teeth.
Puts it down on the table right next to Bob Morton.
Just out of reach. He sits it up just out of reach of Bob Morton. And he's like, he's like trying to grab the grenade, and he touches it, and it slips and starts spinning on the table. It's such a good scene. And for some reason, that one little grenade blew up its entire house. So that tells you that there's no more RoboCops. You know what I mean? Like, that's just it.
No, that's it.
There's only one RoboCop, and that's it, right? So, then we get to one of my favorite scenes of the movie, which is the warehouse scene where Clarence Boddicker, I guess, is trying to connect with one of the major coke distributors in Detroit, which will become Delta City. And this is just the funniest. It goes from being hilarious to awesome to hilarious again. It's the perfect like action movie sandwich. Because Clarence Boddicker is just totally disrespecting this guy. I mean, the guy, they're walking through his, they're giving him a tour of the actual warehouse. And the whole time, Saul, I think it's Sal.
It's Sal,
yeah. He's like drinking this red wine, and they're coming to the table. And Sal is like, "Man, I work with a lot of people who really don't know, who knows all about you, and you know about your government connections and your OCP connections, and we kind of don't really want to mess with you." You know, he's pretty much telling them that. And and Clarence Boddicker takes his fingers and dips it into his wine.
Okay, and then he says, Sal gives him a price. And Clarence Boddicker says, "I don't think I want to pay that. I don't think I want to pay that." And he gives him a briefcase with money in it. And because good business is where you find it.
Good business is where you find it. and the guy starts throwing the money back at the stacks of money back at Clarence Boddicker, and that's when he starts going off about how people don't want to really mess with him. And he's like, maybe I didn't make myself clear. And he just dips his fingers, and he's like, I don't want to fuck with you, Sal. And he wipes his nose with the wine. Like, why would he do that? It's such a stupid. It's so good.
And Sal drinks it after.
And Sal drinks it after because he's a boss.
He was cool too.
Yeah. He's like, I will shove so much of this coke up your wop ass that you'll be shitting snow for a year. And it sounds like hey Richie, please kill this cocksucker, right? And everybody pulls their guns out. It's like guns.
Both sides.
Both sides. It becomes one of those Mexican standoffs, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like the Tigers is playing tonight. Never miss a game. Yeah, he's got super hype. And, and at that point, that's where RoboCop just comes through. Yeah. And it becomes one of the best action scenes of the 80s, I would say. It's iconic. It's up there with, like, the Terminator scenes, you know what I mean? It's just, RoboCop just systematically takes every single combatant down with one gun. Yeah. By himself. And the music is blaring, and before,
and the way it was choreographed was perfect. It was almost like a dance. He walked through there. First, he had pinpointed each one of the combatants with his visor, and then he just started. And the music, just like we talked about earlier, the music was on point. And it was almost like choreographed dance. He would shoot over his shoulder, over his back. The way he was turning as he was, the way he was walking through there. Beautiful scene. And like, he has this one moment where he turns behind himself and one hand is up in the air like he's spinning, and the other hand is like shooting the gun. And it's like this. Like, one thing, just I can't say it enough. This movie's so iconic. Like, everything about it, the whole scene, like you said, it's like a ballerina, or it's like a choreographed stage dance where everything's in place. People are falling. People are flying off of platforms. It's just one of the best scenes in the 80s and of the action genre. So RoboCop finally catches up to Clarence Boddicker, right? And the moment he grabs Clarence Boddicker spits blood in RoboCop's visor, and that of course is a POV view. So you see the blood smeared down RoboCop's visor. He's like, "Fuck you." It's hilarious.
Yeah. And he just keeps throwing. He's like, I work for. He's like, do you know who I am? He's like, do you know who I work for? And RoboCop just keeps throwing him through windows and like, I work for Dick Jones. Dick Jones.
You can't do this to me. I work for Dick Jones.
Dick Jones. And he just keeps throwing him through shit. And he says, Dick Jones, you work for OCP. OCP runs the cops. And he's like, you're a cop. And he's like, yes.
Yeah, because RoboCop was gonna crush his face. He was gonna crush him.
RoboCop was about to kill him.
Yeah, about to kill him.
And if he didn't say that, RoboCop would have killed him.
That's right, because it was, remember, one of his prime directives, he had 4 of them. And I think the third one was uphold the law.
Uphold the law was flashing. And at this point, Murphy's almost in full control.
Almost.
You know what I mean?
But uphold the law was flashing, and that stopped him from cracking.
And he calms down. He says, you're right, I am a cop, right? And then we go back to another iconic scene where RoboCop brings in Clarence Boddicker to another scene at this police station. RoboCop just throws him against the thing, and he says, I got one for you. And the sergeant is like, what's the charge? And RoboCop turns and says, he's a cop killer. And everybody's just looking at him like, what? Looking at Clarence Boddicker all mean. And they pat the paperwork in front of Clarence Boddicker. And Clarence Boddicker just spits blood on the paperwork. And everybody's like, what the fuck? He's like, give me my fucking phone call. Give me my fucking phone call. Everybody's like, holy shit. What? You know what I mean? Such a good scene. Man. So damn cool. So, let me go. Totally destroys Clarence Boddicker. And then, what happens exactly after that scene? Is that where Clarence Boddicker and Dick Jones have the conversation?
Yeah.
And Dick Jones gives him the kill order to destroy RoboCop?
No. No. RoboCop goes after Dick Jones.
Oh, okay, right. So as soon as he drops him off, RoboCop just rolls up the OCP because he got the name, he got the perp, right? And RoboCop is unaware of Directive 4. I would assume, right? Because he wouldn't have tried it if he could.
That's right. He's unaware of that.
It was a secret directive put in by OCP.
Yeah, it was classified.
Classified, right? It unclassified as he was doing it, right?
Yeah.
And RoboCop and Dick Jones he's like, well, I guess you have to do what you do, officer. And he puts his wrist out.
He was so cool. He was so cool about it
because he already knew.
He put his arms out so he could be arrested, so he could put the cuffs on him.
Yeah, because RoboCop just starts listing off stuff that he was he was guilty for. That I guess you got to arrest me, Mr. Officer. And RoboCop just starts jacking up, and he puts his wrist down. He's like, and then he showed him the RoboCop tracker. Did he show him the RoboCop tracker at that point?
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, you must have missed Directive 4." And what the Directive 4 was a condition that RoboCop is against his prime directive to arrest or harm any OCP director, and it sends RoboCop into like automatic shutdown. Like, what does that mean? Like, will RoboCop just die?
He just cuts off. He shuts off.
He just shuts off. So RoboCop is in mid shutting off, and then Dick Jones calls in an actual live Ed 209.
Right.
And
then while he's doing it, he's telling him about Bob Morton.
Yeah, he starts spilling everything. I had to kill Bob Morton because he made a mistake. Now
it's time to erase that mistake.
Absolutely. And then you just hear the Ed 209 just come into the boardroom, which is like, why wouldn't Dick Jones duck for cover? It is Gatling guns and RoboCop tries to fight off the Ed 209, but he's still jacked up. And Ed 209 does his backhand with this Gatling gun that throws RoboCop through a plate glass window.
Yeah.
Which I thought that was kind of cool that the Ed 209 has like CQC, close quarters combat. And the Ed 209 is just wrecking RoboCop, right? And RoboCop's trying to escape. And he falls down a flight of stairs. And RoboCop's at the end of the stairs. And you can see the Ed 209. It's one of the craziest movies. This scene didn't need to be in the movie. But it was so iconic and so smart. The Ed 209 doesn't know how to stairs yet, right? So you see the Ed 209's toe kind of tickle.
Yeah, trying to feel how to get down, try to figure out how to maneuver the stairway.
Right, it's trying to figure out how to maneuver the stairway, and it just eats shit like all the way down. It just totally tumbles down the stairs on its back, and it makes this crazy like baby crying sound, and it's the most disturbing thing ever. It's crying like a child, and you see RoboCop all jacked up, and you can see his human eye, which was broken. The visor was broken. He's just looking like, okay, I'm just going to let this do its thing. I'm going to just walk away, right? And the Ed 209 is literally like spazzing out and screaming. And
squealing,
it's literally squealing, and RoboCop just walks away. And then we get to another scene where it's like you have to deconstruct your hero to build them up again. Is the onslaught of the OCP police department, because they meet him downstairs. RoboCop's leaving to retreat to his car, and I guess back to the precinct. But who's there to await him? But almost the entire force is out there.
Yeah.
And one thing I would like to note is that some of the officers felt reluctant to do it.
Right, they was ambivalent about it. Yeah.
Yeah, they were very ambivalent about it. They're like, man, well, I don't know if he's a cop. He's one of us. And it's like, oh, not OCP doesn't say that. And then someone just screams fire from like a distance. And all these cops just start raining bullets at RoboCop, and the scene kind of feels like it lasts forever, right? And it's just him falling and rolling down, parking lot structures, and him crawling, and you see the smoke, and you hear another mention of the music. The music wells up.
Yes, it does. I was just thinking that. I was hoping that you were going to mention that. Yes, the music steals the scene pretty much.
Yes, because it's a different version of the main theme. It's like it's almost somber, but it's still loud and bombastic of the destruction of RoboCop. And luckily for RoboCop, he is crawling, and you see a cop car pull up, and RoboCop's almost like reaching out for it, like, please don't hurt me, right? It's this very weird, almost like vulnerable moment. And of course, you see that it's Lewis. And Lewis bails him out and drives off with him. And they're shooting at Lewis's car. Cops are shooting at other cop car, which is crazy, right? So, and then we kind of skip to the scene where I guess Dick Jones, I guess Clarence Boddicker and his group got all the munitions from Dick Jones, right? And at this point, the cops are completely on strike.
But remember, he goes to Dick Jones' office first.
Right, that's the scene we were talking about earlier. That's when he gets the kill order because they didn't complete the job, right?
Right. But what happens when he gets to the office?
Yeah. Dick Jones gets mad at Clarence Boddicker because he name dropped him. And, he's pretty much, you involved me. Dick Jones wanted to be the puppet master behind the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then Clarence Boddicker's like, look at my fucking face. It doesn't look like I had a choice. That thing was going to kill me. Right? He was like,
that's one of the funniest scenes ever. Because Clarence Boddicker was so serious. He said, that thing, look at my face.
Look at my fucking face.
That thing tried to kill me.
That thing tried to kill me. And it's like, what do you want me to do, man?
I had to do it. He said, that thing is a cyborg, you idiot. It recorded everything you said. So it's like, what can I do about it? Now you gotta kill it. You gotta destroy it.
So he gave him the RoboCop finder, and he was acting like, well, we're gonna need some heavy duty armory for this thing. It's like, do you have any connections with the military? And Dick Jones is kind of like, at this point, we are the military. You know what I mean? Right. So, and then we get to the scene where, I want to say it's the scene where RoboCop is relearning how to do stuff. Because he's at the same refinery that he was at before, but him and Murphy are down there eating baby food and just him kind of...
Him and Lewis.
Him and Lewis, I'm sorry. What did I say?
You said Murphy.
Okay. Murphy and Lewis are at the refinery. And RoboCop's kind of patching himself up, right? His visor's gone. Yeah. He's all bulleted up, but he's working on his legs to get his legs working again. And his tracking is off. And him and Lewis have this weird touching moment where she kind of teaches him how to she helps him recalibrate his aim. You know what I mean? Because it's like he's super thrown off. And she's like, better? He's like, better. He's starting to become more human, And then we get to the scene where it's at nighttime and the cops are completely on strike at this point. So Clarence Boddicker and his rogues gallery could just run afoul of the entire town. You know what I mean?
And that's exactly what they did.
And that's exactly what they did. The first chance they could have got. And Joey got himself a brand new 2000 XUX factory sticker still on the window. And they start rubbing it in Clarence's face. It's like, how did it go?
I don't remember. Go ahead.
Yeah, he was like, hey, what are you gonna do about it, Clarence? Like, what do you feel? How do you feel about that, Clarence? Saying,
they said, you got a car just like Clarence. Oh, Clarence looked at him like, okay, we'll see about that.
As part of that, they got the 2000 XUSs, and they got these ultra guns. There's something out of like Contra. You got these super rifles. So Clarence grabs the super rifle and blows up Joey's car, like in front of his face. And Joey's just sitting there so bummed out and salty. And everybody's having a good time about it. And so Clarence gives Joey the okay to go nuts with the new gun. And so Joey starts just blowing up storefronts. He's just randomly just screaming and laughing in that crazy high-pitched Joker voice. You know what I mean? So all this sets up that they're ready to start rolling on RoboCop and have the final confrontation at the old refinery where all this began.
Right.
And RoboCop and Lewis are ready this time. You know what I mean? They're prepared. And it's that kind of weird booby traps all around the refinery in a weird way to take them out. And so they get there and they start to confront RoboCop. And it comes to one of the most craziest scenes I've ever seen in an action movie. This scene rivals most horror films of pretty much how it goes down. So I want to let you take this one. How does this scene? You already know what scene I'm talking about.
Yes, when I don't know the biker. We're just calling him the biker.
Right.
Gets slammed into some toxic waste, and after he emerges from that, he is totally jacked up. The makeup artist on that must have been
pretty much a zombie. His clothes were melted into his skin, and like one eye was milky, and his lip was all hanging off. His face melted to the side, and he's walking around like, "Help me!" No one knows what to do with him. And it cut to one of my favorite henchmen. He cut to a shot of his back, and he's like shooting at RoboCop or whatever. And the dude, the melted guy, grabs behind and pulls him and holds on to him. He's like, "Help me!"
Get away from me, man!
Yeah, get away from me, man!
And he runs off.
And he runs off and leaves homeboy in the middle of the street. And the craziest part is that for some reason, I think Lewis is behind the wheel. A cop car is barreling down the street like 80 miles per hour, right? And you see this cool POV shot of the window of the car, and you see the muck man kind of turn to look at it.
He's lumbering.
He's lumbering through like the road, and the car hits him, and he literally just explodes in the water, like explodes into juice.
Not even water, like muck or
like pus. He explodes into like it's the grossest, coolest thing ever. And imagine 5-6-year-old Michael going, "What the hell? Like, what is that?" It's the coolest thing ever. It's so fascinating that he literally jellified. He just explodes on the mirror, and it's so bad that the windshields are going and trying to get his body mass off of it, and it crashes the car. It's so cool. It's one of the best scenes ever. So, RoboCop slowly taking out all the remaining henchmen. The only two that are left is Clarence Bodiger and the "Get Away From Me, Man" guy.
Yeah, his name is Nash.
Nash, thank you, Nash.
Yeah.
We finally get to the scene where they're in this open, like behind the refinery, and it's all watery. And it's a scene where RoboCop's literally walking on water as he's confronting Clarence Bodiger, for the last time. But what he doesn't notice is that Nash is actually up in a crane, ready to drop a bunch of rods and girders and shit like on top of RoboCop. So Clarence is keeping him talking. You know what I mean? And I think Clarence is saying something smooth, like he's like trying to apologize or something.
Mm.
And RoboCop's just like pointing him down.
He's not hearing it. He's not arresting. He even tells her, "I'm not arresting you this time.
He's like,
I'm going to kill you.
I'm going to kill you," right? So,
right.
And so Nash drops all the shrubbery on top of RoboCop, and he's just laughing. And RoboCop can't move because he's under like hundreds of pounds of metal. So Clarence Bodiger is walking over. He grabs a spear and literally throws the spear of Longinus into RoboCop's chest. And it's just like this really visceral scream that he lets out.
Twisting it.
Yeah, he starts twisting it up, and RoboCop's just like freaking out, and the guy, and then Clarence Bodiger asks Nash to do another run. So Nash goes grab some more shrubbery or whatever, and goes and starts to swing it over again. But at the back of the scene, you see Lewis has one of those super ultra guns, right? She just got a hold of one, and she literally blows up Nash in one shot. The entire crane just explodes in one shot. You hear Nash scream, and the whole thing just explodes. And it distracts Clarence Bodiger to the point where he's looking up. And this is the moment where RoboCop uses his super data spike, his icicle spike, and literally just juts it into Clarence Bodiger's throat. And he just pulls out a chunk of his throat. His entire thyroid just is out. And you see Clarence Bodiger starts to sway, and the music is swaying with him in a weird way. And he just falls to his death, and that's it. And you hear RoboCop just screaming, "Lois! Lois!" He's making sure she's okay. And you see RoboCop just lift off one of the girders off of himself. And it's just like, yeah, man. It's this kick-ass ending to that battle scene. And we get to the final scene of the film. RoboCop is once again confronting Dick Jones with everything he needs, all the evidence he needs. And there's an Ed 209 just out front of OCP. And RoboCop just kind of shows up with that super pew-pew gun that they never really explain how where they got it from. It's a military application that was given to Clarence Boddicker by Dick Jones. And what does he do? He just blows up the Air 209 in one shot.
One shot. Take it. He just took him out. No fight scene. None of that. Just took him out.
That was RoboCop's revenge. You know what I'm saying? Murphy's revenge, as it were. And you can see his face. He's smiling, right? He does like a weird little smile. It's like, yeah. And RoboCop RoboCop does this smooth turnaround where he's walking, and then he does like a turnaround to check it out, and then just keeps walking. And you see like the Air 209 just switching and twitching out, and
just the leg. All you see is the leg. He blew the whole top half of him off. The
whole top half explodes, and all that's left is like a stump, his legs, and his weird little attaching part. It's almost like the Enterprise E. It's like where the Enterprise, like the saucer section takes off. You just see that little stump where the warps. It's kind of like that for all the Trekkies out there.
Yeah, right.
So RoboCop. What did you say?
Like me, but go ahead.
Yeah, like me. Unfortunately, like me too. This happens when you're a Trekkie son. You automatically join the group. So RoboCop finally goes to confront Dick Jones, and the old man kind of, says, "Hey, what kind of evidence do you have?" And RoboCop goes and shows the video of Dick Jones' stupid confession to everything. The whole, I had to kill Bob Morton because he made a mistake. Now it's time to erase that mistake. And what does Dick Jones immediately do?
He grabs him, and he asks for a chopper, and he wants to get away.
Yeah.
Oh, the old geezer. Oh, if I don't get these things, the old geezer gets it.
The old geezer gets it. He doesn't even try to deny anything. He just says, "I want a chopper." Just grabs him. Starts going into his demands. The old geezer gets it. And RoboCop is just staring at this old guy like, you know what to do. And the old dude gets it in his hand. He says, "Dick, you're fired." And RoboCop says, "Thank you." And shoots him in the head and shoots him like in the chest. And the old dude slips away. And there's this weird haunted image of Dick Jones falling to his death, animated, and his arms are super long for some reason. You know what I mean?
Right, as he's falling out of the window.
Screaming.
There's a lot of windows in this movie.
A lot of window throws in this movie. So cool. It's like the last boss of Final Fight.
Yes.
So he falls out, and the music starts swelling up again, very softly. And the old man is like, "You're a pretty good officer, son. What's your name?" And RoboCop looks to the screen and says, "Murphy." And then it rolls into RoboCop.
Yes.
And then the music
one of the great endings of a movie, and the music wails away. It's a great movie.
Yeah, the movie ends, and it's just like, if it wasn't so successful, you could have just been that. You know what I mean? Like, it's so cool. I love this movie, and I love RoboCop 2, and that's pretty much where my love ends. Like, I don't like 3 or any of the other ones, but RoboCop 2 was a pretty good sequel to it. But this standalone movie is, I would say, in anyone's top list of the best 80s movies of all time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just
by far.
By far, right? And it's just, and it's timeless, almost in a weird way, because the issues that are brought up in this film are issues I see that the human race having for at least the next 100 years, right?
Yeah.
Corporate corruption, the death and rebirth of a man. There's a lot of Jesus allegories in this film. The rebirth of someone being born again but better in a weird way.
Right.
And
Frankenstein is in there.
A little bit of Frankenstein's monster, right? So, no love interest, right? No
love interest.
No classic tropes. It's all about one man's journey from trying to do something right to losing his identity to coming back.
From being human to cyborg and pretty much being human again at the end. Yeah.
It's so good. You know what I mean? It's like, we mentioned earlier in the podcast or in the review about the sequel, or not the sequel, but the remake, and how it's not necessarily a bad movie. It's just different. You know what I mean? It has a different approach. It's not as commercial. It's not damning the commercialism of corporate America. It's more about the man becoming the robot and then becoming the man again.
Yeah.
You know, and that film, I remember we had a conversation about this earlier. It's like it dwells more into RoboCop's family, which you never really got a feel for in the original.
In the original, that's true. That's true. I kind of like that about the newer movie, and I like the political aspect of it too, because
right,
you know, the United States wanted, well, some people wanted them to have robots police in the United States, like they use robots to police the other countries and war zones and all that. And so they had this initiative going into Congress to vote on that, whether they were going to have the same policing in the United States than they had overseas. And a lot of people was for it and against it.
Right.
And them building RoboCop, he was supposed to bridge the gap for that. They was going to use him to get that vote passed. But it didn't go quite the way they wanted it. RoboCop wasn't exactly the foil for that. He didn't do what they wanted, so the vote didn't pass.
It's because I think in the movie, it's because they didn't really want human element in the robots in the first place. They always, and that's why they built the Air 209s in that movie. It's because they wanted to keep it that to take the human element out of it to save lives, but at the same time, it takes a human life to make a decision. That's not always by the book. You know, it's like there's these, it's funny. And we're getting into the age of automated vehicles, right? Where Google's just going to start running your car. And it's going to take you where you want to go. And there's like a protocol in these automated these automated vehicles that people don't really know about. And it's a protocol that says, if you're going to be in a car crash and there's a choice. If you do this, there's a higher chance of you saving yourself. And if you do that, it's a higher chance of the other car becoming saved. The car is going to automatically choose to take your life over the life of, let's say, a car full of a family. Wow. You know what I mean? It's kind of weird.
Almost like the Will Smith robot movie, right?
Exactly. It's going to choose to save the higher body count than just save no matter what. So your car may make the decision for you, and you may die so that they could live. And a lot of people aren't happy eating that decision, right? Because, you know, we're selfish creatures.
Having some third party decide that. Oh, and not just a third party, a heartless robot type thing to decide that.
Exactly.
Wow.
It's a calculation, not a decision. There's two different things, right? So, and this movie plays with that. It's like, we don't really want robots patrolling our streets because they can't make the hard decision. They're going to always make the calculation, and that calculation may be wrong. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Whereas
it might go against the court system. It might decide that you're just too dangerous to even face a jury, and the robot might just take you out.
Yeah, right then and there, because you have priors.
Right then and there.
You know what I'm saying? So that's what this remake kind of touched on, you know, the psychological process it takes to become RoboCop, right?
Yeah.
They even had this weird scene where they're going through RoboCop candidates, and it was all based on marketing and psychology.
Yes.
It was weird. It's like, oh yeah, this guy's handsome. Like, oh yeah, but he has psychotic episodes. Okay, we can't mess with him. What about him? Oh, he's too fat. Nobody's going to want to mess with him. Oh, we can't do him. What about him? Oh, he's too black. There was even a black guy. They were like, no.
Yeah,
he doesn't range right. And then it was like, okay, these are the colors we want for RoboCop. And of course, I had the iconic gray and silver. And then the Michael Keaton character is like, nah, man, I want something more tactical. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it became that black on black. You know what I mean? The movie's very different. And I can watch both of them and enjoy both of them, but it's not better than the original. You know what I mean? It's just not.
No way.
You can't defeat nostalgia.
And another thing I take away from the original Robo before we close is how this movie, the villains were the main focus of the movie. Mm-hmm. They pretty much stole the show. You can go from Clarence Boddicker to Bob Morton to Dick Jones. And a lot of movies have done that. I can think of like 10 movies where the villain was overshadowed the hero.
Every single time, because the villain gets to do whatever he wants. And the villain actually gets to emote more than the hero does. Look at The Dark Knight with the Joker. Yeah. It's a perfect example.
You can go back to the Michael Keaton Batman too, where Jack Nicholson pretty much stole the show. And you can think of a lot of movies like that. In Star Wars, people don't think about Luke Skywalker; they think about Darth Vader. You can just go on and on and on, and how the villains were the most memorable person in the movie. That I watched RoboCop, not too much for RoboCop, but I watch it for Clarence Boddicker and for Dick Jones. That's what I watched the movie for.
Absolutely, the villains always drive the conflict, and conflict drives the story. Yeah. Right. So the villain's always going to have top billing over the hero in regards to story progression, in regards to attention, because you have to establish your villain to establish the hero. You know what I mean?
Right.
Without conflict, there's no reason for the hero to react.
And this movie does it excellently.
Excellently. RoboCop is a byproduct of the villainy of Detroit, right?
Yes.
Without Clarence Boddicker, without Dick Jones, and without Bob Morton, for that matter, there's no conflict for RoboCop to even exist. Just like without the Joker, without Ra's al Ghul, without Scarecrow, there's no reason for Batman to exist, right? So writing-wise, it's always fun to write those characters because they're steering the ship. You know what I mean? Oh, man. Yeah. Cool. Any last thoughts about RoboCop, directed by Paul Verhoeven, 1987?
I'm going to watch it again tonight.
I'm going to watch 1 and 2 tonight, too. I'm going to watch 1 and 2 back to back. Because we may have to do a RoboCop 2 review sometime down the pipe, because I love Nuke and all that stupid stuff that's in the sequel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. So I definitely want to thank you, Michael Prime, for being on this review episode. I had a blast.
Yeah, me too. We definitely have to do it again sometime.
You let me know. I'm all, these aren't one-shot deals, so you're more than welcome to come back. You just let me know what movie you want to do, and we can definitely run a review for it.
Okay.
Absolutely. As always, you can find Masters of the Nerdiverse on Twitter. That is @mnerdiverse. That is @ the letter M and Nerdiverse spelled out. And you can always find this podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, SoundCloud, YouTube, and Amazon Alexa. I'm your host, Mike G. And as always, I'm going to ask you to take that one step beyond.
RoboCop. Who is he? RoboCop. What is he? RoboCop. Where does he come from? RoboCop. Who is he? RoboCop. What is he? RoboCop. Where does he come from?
Robin! This guy's really good. Robin! This guy's really good. Robin! Thank you for your cooperation. Robin! Good night. RoboCop. Get the line, you're coming with me. Your move, creep. RoboCop. Get the line, you're coming with me. Your move, creep.
Target. Now follow. Target.